And indeed, we're all about small business jobs and entrepreneurship and business. We talk a lot about business here. You're on with Get Down to Business, and I'm your host, Shalom Klein. Remember, you can always download podcasts on my website at syklein.com. And don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Shalom Klein. It's going to be a jam-packed week of content and information you will not want to miss. And we're going to kick it off with a very special guest, and that is Miss Vernita Stevens. Vernita is a retired United States Marine Master Sergeant and an inspirational speaker who blends depth and gravitas with tact and poise. She offers 20 plus years of leadership expertise and uses an inspirational approach to convey positive results in bystander intervention and diversity, equity, and inclusion, as well as conflict management. Vernita, first of all, thank you for your service, and thank you for coming on the program and sharing your passion with us. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, and thank you for your service as well.
I appreciate it. Thank you. I mean, you've had quite the impressive career, and I really love so much of how your expertise has developed. Again, from spending time in the United States Marine Corps, and now you are very focused. I've read this quote of yours: "Cleaning your lens changes your view." Vernita, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you became so passionate about this area that you've dedicated your career to.
All right. Well, I'm a small town girl. Let me just say that I'm a small town country girl where it was like, if it needed to get done, you need to do it. And I'll never forget when that Marine recruiter walked in and he said, not many women will make it. And I felt that as a challenge to me, a personal challenge to me. I said, you know what? I bet you I can. I bet you I can make it. And throughout my career, I came up on this one mentor that I was complaining about something. And I remember specifically, she told me, instead of complaining, become part of the solution. And let me tell you, that stuck with me through my entire career. And it pushed me into this space, no matter what it was that I wanted to learn more about or what I had a question about. I figured out that I needed to become part of the solution, not just complain about it, but what can I do to help? What can I do to encourage somebody else? How can I be a voice for other people? So during my time in the Marine Corps, I had the privilege of being on something called the Congressional Fellowship Program, where I even had an opportunity to work for Congress and Senate. And I decided to retire. But, you get to that place where you feel like, it's something that's missing. And I figured out what was missing is that I stopped serving, or I felt like I stopped serving. So now I'm serving others by being a voice of change, a voice of reason, and being a voice for those that feel like they no longer have it. So my motto that says cleaning your lens changes your view, I believe that anything is possible if we change the way that we look at it. Our perspectives are great, but it doesn't mean that somebody else's perspective doesn't matter as well.
Absolutely. Again, I'm chatting with Vernita Stevens. Vernita, I mean, that's incredible. And certainly you've taken those lessons from the Marine Corps. Really awesome, incredible opportunity. And so many people are not aware of so many of the opportunities available in the service to, again, take a congressional fellowship. And now you've taken all those lessons and you're continuing to pay it forward. So there's a lot I want to talk to you about in a very short amount of time over here. Let's talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion, specifically as it relates to our small business community that's tuning in from around the world. I mean, why is inclusive leadership the right decision as somebody seeks to, frankly, have a return on investment and grow their business? How does it benefit them?
Well, the biggest benefit from them is that they are serving society. They are serving the world. And what is the world? It is diverse. It all encompasses every race, ethnicity, nationality, gender identity, everything that is out there. So if we're not being inclusive of all, if we're not looking at the big picture, you are missing out. A lot of people say, well, I just want to look at sales and I want to look at my target audience. But if you're not breaking it down to say, am I including everyone? Am I paying attention to who my investors are, who my listeners are, who's in my market, who am I serving? You're missing so many potential people that they could reach within their small businesses by overlooking them. Could be unintentionally, but open their eyes to that.
That's right. And Vernita, I know you're so passionate about helping organizations and people to succeed beyond their potential. And that's exactly what this is all about. You've already talked a little bit about cleaning your lens changes your view, but a lot of that is, I know you speak frequently about this, about listening and embracing the pause. That's something I've talked to my mentors about quite a bit. What do you mean by that statement?
So embracing the pause is about reaction versus response. Just think about in general the last time that somebody said something or did something and you did a spontaneous reaction to it. You didn't have an opportunity to think about it. You just reacted, whatever that emotion was. But when we learn how to embrace a pause, we get a chance to stop and listen. Listen to what that person on the other end is trying to tell us. And as a small business owner, you are listening to their needs. What is your client needing? What do they need from you? If you're talking the whole time and you're just reacting, you're missing the mark. But if you pause, you listen, you respond to their ask and speak to the benefit, then there's more out there.
Absolutely, absolutely, because there's so much to learn from people, and that ties to what we were talking about before, again, about embracing the diversity, equity, and inclusion all around you. But often, as you listen, frequently another issue pops up, something that I know you're also very passionate about, and that's conflict management. It is so common that when you're out there, you mentioned in your introduction that you're a small town girl, and suddenly you're exposed to that big Marine Corps world. All of a sudden you see people that don't look like you, that don't sound like you. And inevitably there's going to be that moment of conflict, likely due to a lack of understanding. Vernita, what's your lesson to the entrepreneurs, small business owners, and frankly, any professionals that are tuning in and can resonate with some of those challenges?
It's just, first and foremost, go back to embracing that pause, accept that everyone is not going to be exactly like you. They may not have your idea, but be open-minded that your good idea could turn into a great idea if you open your mind to what is diverse. Now, when you think about that conflict, it normally happens within those disagreements. And there are going to be times that you have to agree to disagree, and knowing that you may not always be right, and that your point of view and perspective is important, but so is theirs. So what it breaks down to is having that dignity and respect for the other person whom you are communicating with.
Absolutely. So, Vernita, you speak regularly all over the world on some of these topics. And I know you have met so many people, but additionally, you have an identity of your being an entrepreneur yourself. Again, after retiring, after moving on, you've established the 2P Paradigm of Possibilities LLC, which of course we'll send our listeners to in just a moment. So to the entrepreneurs that are tuning in, what advice do you have? Maybe some of those lessons learned and even your own journeys of entrepreneurship.
Well, let me tell you, I'm glad you asked me that question. Take your time. That's one of the first things I can say. Take your time and do not do something because it's not perfect. There's nothing that's going to be perfect. Let me go on a record of saying it. So many times I would, be working on something and say, I can't do it yet because it's not, I need to cross this T or dot this I. You can continue to prove upon whatever it is that you're putting out because growth is continuous. You learn something continuously. So whatever you have in the moment, and you feel is great at that moment, you move towards it and you put it out. And as it gets better, then you improve upon it. So do not stop, do not give up, and do not quit.
Absolutely. That is such fantastic advice. You are inspiring. You are empowering. That's Vernita Stevens. Vernita, I could talk to you for so long, but I don't want to share all the secrets. I want to make sure our listeners can get in touch with you and bring you on to coach them, to mentor them, and invite you to some of their upcoming events. Vernita, how can our listeners reach you?
They can always find me at www.2p-llc.com, or they can email me at info@2p-llc.com.
Fantastic, Miss Vernita Stevens. Thank you so much for joining us on the program. Semper Fi, Ura. Appreciate you coming on. Thank you for your service. Again, thank you for your inspiration. I can't wait to bring you on again real soon. And we are going to have to squeeze in a very quick break here on the show, all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship. You can always download podcasts on my website at syklein.com, or of course on your favorite podcast app. Just search for Get Down to Business. But please make sure you subscribe, rate, review, and share. Again, we have a jam-packed show for you today, so you don't want to touch that dial. You're listening to Get Down to Business, and we'll be right back.